welcome to my channel. So this is going to be about spray painting, as it's probably how you found this, you searched for that. Basically this channel is going to be everything you're going to need to know about spray painting brought into one place. During my start with spray painting, I was looking around places online for all the techniques, for the equipment I'm going to need, for walkthroughs, new things to learn basically, and it was all quite unorganised. So I've decided, with what I've learnt, to bring all into one place, this channel. So I'm hoping that beginners to spray painting will be able to take a lot from this, and maybe even some of the more experienced guys out there may be able to learn a thing or two, and vice versa. I can learn something from what you guys respond with. Okay, so this first episode is going to be all about the equipment you're going to need to make your spray paint art. So this is sort of the painters who are into getting some sort of blank canvas and putting a picture on it. That's what this is all about. That's what I do. So, first things first, what are you going to need? Well, spray paint for one. So, what I go with for my colours, because depending on how colourful you want your art, you're going to want a large range of colours, some nice vibrant colours. And that's why I recommend Painter's Touch from Rust-Oleum. This is great acrylic, glossy paint. It's got to be glossy. These are 400 milliliter cans, and they come in a huge range of colours. The thing to know about these cans is they are fairly pricey. You can get them for a retail price of about £10, which is, in my opinion, a complete rip-off. But on sites such as eBay, people sell these in bulk for cheaper. You can get about 2 for £15. So it's still quite expensive. It's you don't have to start off with all of the colours and a huge range to get into spray paint art, but this is the best stuff in my opinion. So that's what you're going to start off with for these types of colours. For your vibrants, your pinks, your blues, your oranges, your reds, you want that paint. That's what I recommend. But for the colours you're going to need in a bigger quantity, such as black and white, these are good for shading, for lighting, those sort of effects. I would recommend going with some sort of cheaper branded paint in a bigger size can. So this is 500 milliliters, some Halfords. It's just glossy black, and you can usually rely on this stuff, the cheaper stuff in these colours, especially if it's just filling out a black sky, something like that. But yeah, because you use a lot of black and a lot of white, you run out fast in these smaller 400 milliliter cans. Now 100 milliliters does make a difference, just to let you know. So you're going to need a lot of this paint. That's why I've got a couple of these here and more in my painting workshop thing. So don't feel as though you have to stick to the Rust-Oleum brand. You can venture out, and you don't even have to stick to the Rust-Oleum brand for your bright and vibrant colours, but that's what I would recommend for the best quality picture. So that's the type of paint I would recommend. So just keep it glossy. Rust-Oleum Painter's Touch is good, and don't be afraid to go for the off brands for the blacks and the whites, because if you got Painter's Touch black, you're going to run out of that in a week or so, because you need a lot of that paint. Okay, so there are your colours. Another massive question is the type of paper that you paint on, because you need a specific type of paper in order for a good image and to prevent bleeding and stuff like that of the image of the paint. So this is what you get. You get glossy paper, or it's called paperboard in America. So one side is just paper, and the other has a glossy finish to it. So this prevents that bleeding and makes that good shiny image come out when you're done. So this is an A3 size, and it's thick paper as well. I can't remember the precise measurements. It may be on the back of this, which it conveniently isn't. But yes, you're going to want your thick paper, that will help prevent bleeding. You want it in an A3 size. It's usually, you can find it on Amazon and places like that as paper for printing photos on. That's the type of stuff this is. It's not cheap to get the highest quality stuff. This isn't super high quality, but it's good enough. You can get 400 sheets for about 40 quid, about that. And that's going to last you for a long time, so long as you're not throwing the sheets out willy-nilly. Okay, you can also paint on canvases, which I sometimes do. You just get those from your arts and crafts stores, unless you make them, in which case, good on you, because that looks tricky. But yeah, the paper, keep it glossy, keep it thick, and keep it large, because you need a large piece of paper for your paintings. Another note about the paper is that you want that glossy side, otherwise it's just going to get ruined when you decide to paint on it. Okay, so moving on, I've got a case here with a few things in it. The next big thing, in my opinion, is one of these big boys, a mask. So you want these to prevent any illnesses that come from inhaling small particles of paint from your aerosol can. Now, you don't need one of these if you're working outside and there's a breeze and it's all well ventilated. Even if you have a very well ventilated room, I would recommend you get one of these, because it can prevent a lot of long-term illness, especially if you're painting a lot of the time. So you can get these from any of your DIY stores. If you look around, just get a decent quality one. I will put the link for this specific model in the description, as with the Rust-Oleum paint and where I got the paperboard. I will put all the links in the description so you know exactly what I'm talking about. So I got this stuff a while back. You can change these filters out, or you can clean them out, but you should do that fairly regularly. And yeah, so get one of these. There's not much more to say really, unless you don't give a crap about your lungs. You should definitely invest in one of those to prevent a lot of long-term illness. Now, as part of spray paint art, you may want to invest in stencils. Now, for this you really need a few specific things that you probably won't have lying around. So you can get away with using stuff like cardboard for stencils, however it's a lot harder to work around. So as you can see, this particular one is Batman. And for this I used some Stencil. I've actually got it right here. I got this, basically, Acetate sheets. Okay, I got this from an arts and crafts store, and I cut this guy out with a carving knife, or I think they call it in America an X-Acto knife. So it'll definitely be worth investing in that if you want some sort of stencil art like this. You don't have to. I've only really recently gotten into using stencils because I've gotten a bit bored of the other techniques. But yeah, definitely worth looking into that. Okay, next thing up, a bit more safety. You're going to want some gloves. Okay, so these specific gloves I got here, this is just to protect your hands really from the paint. You can get paint in your hands and you can just wash it off, but if you're working with a lot of paint and you're doing it regularly and you don't want to wash your hands every single time you paint, it's worth investing in something like these. These are super cheap. I've got, how many here? I think 100? Yep, 100 pairs of these gloves for about £5. Okay. These are nitrite, this material. You can get latex. This is basically the same thing, but some people have allergic reactions to latex, so just be wary of that when you invest in those. Make sure you're not going to get a nasty reaction, because people do. It's not uncommon. Okay, following that, paintbrushes. Now, I'll show you a couple of examples of paintings which may require you to have a paintbrush, and a couple which don't, just to give you an idea of why you might need paintbrushes in what is supposedly a spray painting tutorial. Okay, so this painting here, I used a paintbrush for everything down here on the ground. for these two individuals, for the tree and for all the sticks and whatever. The sky and the planet itself is all spray painted using stencils. But if you want to add detail and something extra, a bit more depth, something more interesting to your image, then investing in a paintbrush or a set of paintbrushes is definitely worthwhile. So that's that one. However, you can get away with not using paintbrushes for your artwork. So I will find an example, something like that. This little baby, I'm not sure if it's going to show up well, but that requires no paintbrushes at all. Okay, cool. So, as for paintbrush techniques, I cannot really offer any. You've just got to be careful, you've got to have patience, you've got to practice. Before I started this, I was awful at painting with a paintbrush, but I've gotten a little bit better. You just need patience. What I'm painting with a paintbrush isn't super hard, and I'm sure anyone else who started off really awful at painting can get somewhere like I have managed to. Okay. Another little detail you might want, for especially when it comes to painting trees, sponge. You can get sponge anywhere. If you don't know how to get a sponge, I'm afraid you should just close the video now, because yeah, anyone can get a sponge. So that's just good for painting the leaves on trees. That's pretty much all that's used for, but still very valuable bit of information there. Then you've got your stencils. That's sort of the last thing to mention. So for planets, like in the two images you saw, I used just bowls. I've got lids from the jars of spices, from coffee tins, and from biscuit tins, just anything like that. You can also get larger lids. You can get lids off pans. Lids off pans are a really good one, but that means you have to throw away a pan, or just have a pan without a lid. These just came from tubs, and these are good for huge planets. Okay, so that's some equipment. Right, there's not much equipment beyond that. Other than that, you're really going to need a surface to lay your paintings on whilst you're painting them, so a good thing to have is a table. A fold-away table is really handy, and if you care about the table and you don't want to get paint all over it, get some sort of plastic sheet or a tarp, just lay that over when you're painting, and that's good, you're good to go. Other than that, I would advise getting a place to store your paintings. So I had that folder that I showed you earlier, and if you're into canvas paintings, you can always just hang them up on the wall very easily as well, if you like storage space. Other than that, there's only one last thing that I would like to bring up, and that is this clear coat. People, well, when I first started, I had no idea why people use clear coat. I saw it in the tutorials, people using clear coat on their paintings. And I figured out there's two main purposes really. The first is when you're done and you want to protect your painting. You spray it over and it enhances the colour. It makes the image protected essentially. And so it's just a good little finisher if you want to add that extra like zam to your painting. The other one is for when your paint becomes dry or dryish, it starts to dry up, and you want to basically, when it comes to spray painting, you need to be able to manipulate the paint with some sort of paper to create textures and such. When it dries out, you can't really mess around with the paint, so this is a good way to wet it up again basically. That was a really long-winded way of saying that, I'm sorry. But yeah, this is good to have, so make sure you have a can of this. I got the Rust-Oleum clear coat, you can get whatever, clear coat's clear coat. This is the really deadly stuff by the way, so make sure you don't breathe this in. I work inside with that mask, but when I'm spraying this, I go outside because that stuff's nasty. Right, and that's about it. Yeah, that's about it. When it comes to the tutorials, there's a couple of little things you're going to need, but nothing major. You've pretty much got everything you need here. So, in my next video, I'll be showing some tutorials about how to create textures for planets. Basically, I showcased a couple of them in those images, but there's more, there's definitely more. So stick around. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to leave a rating on it. And I'll see you next time.